Tristan with Nerdette's Newsstand, and we absolutely have to talk about the Suicide Squad, but I'm going to give you a full warning. Spoilers. I am not great when it comes to spoiler reviews. I just don't know how to do them. So, it's a new movie. It just came out yesterday on HBO Max and in cinemas. I know it's been out for about a week overseas, but even so, massive spoiler warning. Click away. Come back after you've seen it, because we have some stuff to talk about. I've already watched it twice. I'm going to assume you're gone if you don't want spoilers. And oh my God, I really do like this movie. It is action from the word go. And it does a great job of setting up Massive and King Shark. Like, who would have thought that would work as a friendship? But it absolutely did. King Shark was an awesome character. He was definitely dumbed down, very much so, from his comic book counterpart, but it worked for the story. Actually worked great. I was laughing so much when he was talking about wearing a disguise and he was just gonna wear a fake mustache. Like, he was such a good character, but Ratcatcher showing him that, you know, he could have friends. We don't eat friends. Friends are not num-nums. Friends are friends. And I really liked their dynamic. And she looked at him and she goes, if I die because I gambled on love, it will be a worthy death. And I thought that was very fitting for this movie. So let's talk about that killing of the freedom fighter scene. I do know that we saw the girl, and I can't even remember her name offhand. I'm sorry. Actually go and make a deal with the devil, basically making a deal with the Americans. And one thing I want to say before I get too much into this scene is I noticed a lot of hypocrisy out there. We've gotten in the past few months, oh my God, Loki's woke. Oh my God, Black Widow's woke. Oh my God, these things, He-Man's woke. But this had much more political commentary. This was much more, during that part, we see her say, oh, just typical Americans come in guns blazing. Well, that's true. It's true. But there was a lot more political commentary within this than there was within any of those shows. And it's being, oh my God, it's a good movie. Just be consistent at least, or admit that you're a hypocrite. Either way, let's continue. During that scene, I thought it was played for laugh. There was a lot of over-the-top gore being played, and then some, of course, full frontal nudity. Oh my God, it was a hard R. But when she made that deal, I really wish just for her character development, we could have seen her just turn around and shoot one of the people from the Suicide Squad, because they had just brutally murdered, and it wasn't really talked about too much. It seemed a little silly to me that it wasn't talked about much, right? So after that, we basically go to and learn a little bit about Project Starfish, right? And Jotunheim and what is being done there. And we see that Harley is made into a beautiful, beautiful princess. A little degrading, but I like this scene. It is weird to me that, the whole big deal of Birds of Prey was about, women empowerment, right? You are a strong woman. But during this scene, we see Harley become a princess. Had she said no, she would have been murdered. So it puts her in a weird predicament that they don't really talk about. But I love the scene. It's beautiful. It's she ends up shooting him because she here's the red flags about him killing kids, right? That's a pretty big red flag, Harley. But during that part, we see Harley skipping around. It felt very vindicative of Harley. There was a bird scene that's very vindicative of the comic books. And it was just beautifully done. I really, really liked that whole thing. Then we get to learn about Polka Dot Man. And he's a little bit different quite a bit different in the comics, right? In the comics, he had his polka dots on his suit. He could pull them off. Maybe one would become a sharp razor and he would throw it, or one he could ride on. And sometimes he even went by Mr. Polka Dot. But in this one, his mother wanted, the children that she had to be superheroes so badly that she, worked at Star Labs and gave them all these things, trying to make them superheroes, things that were alien technology. Well, for him, it ended up being a virus. And I really like that origin change. I actually think it works better. He has to expel the viruses, aka throw up. The prettiest throw up ever. Twice a day, or it eats him alive. And he's got serious mommy issues. And he sees his mommy everywhere. Everywhere. To the point where at the end, and we see Bloodsport yell at Polka Dot Man, "That's your mom." And he starts throwing polka dots at the starfish, right? So I found it very funny. We also see Ratcatcher's origin change. Her great dad. I think it was Tahiti Wakiti, or however you say his name. And Bloodsport's father was a piece of shit. But Sebastian knows. Animals and kids can usually read people pretty well. And I thought it was cool that they used that concept, that Sebastian knows Bloodsport is good. Bloodsport's heart is in it. And has no fear of them, even though Bloodsport had a huge fear of rats because his father put him, for 24 hours for doing something wrong, put him in a box with hungry rats. What the fuck? So anyways, they get to the bar and we meet the Thinker, right? And I think the Thinker was played off just maliciously evil in a good way because there was no line there. I think with making these characters over the top evil, you had to, because the Suicide Squad are already inmates. They're already, some of them are anti-heroes, whether it's Harley. Some of them are straight up villains. So you had to go a level deeper with evilness, and it worked with the Thinker and, well, obviously Starro the Conqueror. So I liked that they went that deep, even though there was one scene, I didn't care for. So I loved Harley's escape also after she shoots the president. I giggled. I watched it twice. I giggled both times when Harley goes 69. It's so silly. It's so dumb. It's the base, bottom humor that works so well with Harley Quinn, right? So during that scene, we get to see kind of from Harley's perspective of what's going on as she's getting out and murdering everyone. But instead of over the top gore, sometimes we see some flowers or some birds or some beauty. We're seeing Harley's side of it. And I like that they gave us that. And when they all go to Jotunheim, there's a beautiful shot. And absolutely love that they use the rain to their advantage. Even if angels were splooging all over them, it was beautiful. Whether it's, when King Shark rips the man right in half, and that was right in the trailer. Beautiful. They did a good job of using that to their advantage. And there's some really downright beautiful shots. One shot that kind of grossed me out is after Harley had killed the president, they put his body in with the birds and they burn all of it alive. And I'm like, ooh, yeah, ew. So the prisoner reveal we need to talk about. And it's that moment where you realize how evil the Thinker is. He has all these test subjects, all these people that were kind of political rivals, journalists, people that they didn't like. They would send them there and they would test on them. The difference is in the comic books, you can take off one of Starro's small version of himself. In this, you cannot. It kills you. It also is very much hinted at that Thinker, and this was one of my biggest problem, that Thinker raped one of the prisoners. The prisoner says, he took advantage of me, and he just kind of shrugs it off like it's a joke. That's gross. So anyways, we see quite a bit of the experiments, but we see also the reveal that they were not sent there to protect the world from alien technology. They were actually sent there to cover up their part in it. This was America's fault. This was America's astronauts that brought Starro back from space, but used Jotunheim to have the testing at because they're, a little squeamish around half-dead people. But we also get Peacemaker versus Rick Flag. And we need to talk a little bit about this scene because by the end, I don't know how you're going to do a Peacemaker show. How? How can you do a Peacemaker show when he is completely irredeemable? I really like that shot around the helmet. and where we see the glass puncture Rick Flag's heart. The shots are good, but he killed Rick Flag, and Rick Flag is an amazing character. I did not expect to lose, just like Boomerang. But then he takes it a step further, and this is all done in the name of protecting America's secrets, right? He takes it a step further, and I could have dealt with that. But once he went after, Ratcatcher, that's the point where that's the final straw. She was the best part of this movie. Now, he didn't kill her. Bloodsport actually saves Ratcatcher. But that's where you made him irredeemable. Even though he does come up post-credit scene, he is alive. Peacemaker is. But that's where you made him. So I have no interest in him anymore. Why you went that far is beyond me. So we see Starro break free. We see King Shark, adorable, having these dumb new friends. And there's another scene that I want to briefly touch on, and it's the Milton scene. And basically, Milton had been with them the whole time, and we see that Polka Dot Man is upset that Milton died and nobody else really cares. And I think that's a shame. I think it shows what a good person Polka Dot Man was, but also shows that you gotta, it makes normal people feel useless. And I think, by playing it off for laughs, you're kind of making them feel useless in a way. And I don't think you want that in your movie, especially when he was an integral part of the team. He helped them out quite a bit. So we see Starro escape. Ratcatcher realizes that you have to cover your face. And then they reanimate. I like how they talk in unison. But then once the mission is over, they need to leave the city, and Waller doesn't want them to help. And of course, they initially say okay, but they turn around. And that's when Waller almost kills Bloodsport. But instead of doing so, one of the other ladies there knocks him out. Now, this lady, we actually don't see it in the end credit scene. So I'm hoping they do some sort of one-liner where they just say Waller killed her. Because if you knock Waller out in any version I've ever seen, you're dead. I'm actually surprised that Blonde and the bigger guy's still in the movie. Like, I'm actually surprised that she didn't murder him. I think in the comics it would have been a little bit different, but because they're good actors, they're staying around. But it didn't feel very Waller to me to not have them brutally murdered. So we see the Suicide Squad versus Starro, right? And I love the end scene for Mr. Polka Dot where he's like, I'm a superhero, and he's dead, right? So he did his part and he felt great about it. And I think his character got a lot of redemption and a lot of, even though he was silly and he was fun and he was awesome. I really like that. So I loved another part. Now, I mentioned earlier how Ratcatcher was saved from Peacemaker by Bloodsport. Well, we flipped the script a little bit. Ratcatcher brings all the rats around, and of course he has this terrible fear of him. She puts her arm over him, and this time she had just saved him. So we get to see them both save each other. And I love, I think it's Tahiti Wakiti, I'm sure I'm saying that wrong, why he says rats, right? Because if they're the most disgusting, hated creatures. And if they have purpose, so do we all. I really like that, and I was bawling my eyes. Okay, not bawling. I actually didn't cry near as much in this movie than I do in most. So I like how finally we get the reveal that Javelin is using, is what Harley needs to use to basically kill Starro. And it really works. And she ends up doing so. But there was one moment when we see Starro say, I was floating around in space among the stars. You're supposed to feel a little bit bad for him. But I kind of call BS on that because he could have just opened the hatch after he had taken over the Americans and left. I'm sure it was more like curiosity killed the cats, but it just shows kind of that conquest that America never stops at, right? So, we definitely see survivors. Harley, Bloodsport, King Shark, and Ratcatcher. Ratcatcher should have been the one to get her own show. Now, end credit scene, we see Peacemaker, actually live. But as they're leaving, we get to see Sebastian, the cutest ever, on Bloodsport's leg, and he kind of overcomes that fear. And I really liked how they, had that progress for him. We do, before the post-credit scene, get to see Weasel wake up. So I wonder if they'll do something with that, but I don't know because it's all CGI and it's pretty expensive. I enjoyed this a lot. Like, I want to keep talking about it, but I know how long this is getting already. I loved Harley. I loved Ratcatcher. I think they made characters that weren't good in the comics good in the movie. I think that James Gunn did a fantastic job. I think it's damn near the second to third best DCEU movie ever. And I think that they need to keep James Gunn on DC. He needs to be their Kevin Feige. So let's hope they don't get rid of him. Anyways, let me know, of course, what you guys think about this. I'll probably be either talking about it during stream or maybe do an individual video on some more character in-depth analysis that's truly very interesting, and maybe some on the political commentary too. So let me know, of course, what you guys think. I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.